With the 15th pick in the draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Ty Washington from the University of Kentucky. Although he went to Kentucky as a point guard, John Calipari had him play off the ball for the majority of the season. Ty learned how to move without the ball and was efficient at times in catch and shoot situations. His passing ability is also there. Even though he didn't have the ball in his hands as much, he still averaged 4 assists a game. He can operate in the pick and roll very well. Before he suffered an ankle injury midway of the season, Washington proved to be a good outside shooter and a lethal pull-up threat. And being able to shoot off the bounce is one of the most valuable skills a guard can have in today's NBA. In a game with point guard Shabir Wheeler out against Georgia early in the season, Washington showed what kind of floor general he could be playing point guard full time. He recorded 17 points and 17 assists in a win, breaking the Wildcats assist record at 16 held by John Wall. There's no doubt that Washington has talent as a shooter and a distributor, but NBA scouts question his explosiveness and his ability to get by his defender consistently. Coming back from an ankle injury led to a lot of disappointing performances down the stretch. The Hornets have a need at the backup point guard spot, and I know they would love to have LaMelo Ball play off the ball at times. Ty could be the guy to allow that to happen. After the previous season that saw the Atlanta Hawks make an improbable run to the Eastern Conference Finals, there was so much hope for Hawks fans heading into 2022. The team had so much confidence in the roster that they made almost no changes in the offseason. But the momentum they gained in the previous season didn't necessarily carry over to the next. I believe most people didn't really expect the Hawks to make a return trip back to the conference finals. But finishing in the top 4 in the East was realistic. But it didn't turn out that way. Atlanta suffered a lot of injuries and a massive bout of COVID during the nasty spike in December and January, losing 10 of 13 games and knocking them down near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Once some players came back, the Hawks rebounded, winning 7 games in a row, and were 16-9 to end the season, finishing with a 43-39 record. It was good enough to make the play-in tournament and secure the 8th seed. But the Hawks got bounced in 5 games to the number 1 seeded Miami Heat. The Hawks were great on offense and bad on defense. Trae Young is the only untouchable on this roster, and it looks like the Hawks will try to make some changes this offseason. Adding some toughness and defense would be ideal for the Hawks with this pick. With the 16th pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Ochai Agbaji from Kansas University. The leader of the 2021 NCAA champion Kansas Jayhawks is ready to step right in and be a 3-and-D option. He's made major strides as a shooter in his 4 seasons at KU, and going into his senior year, he was a borderline first-round prospect. But this past season, he solidified himself as a surefire first-rounder with a chance to be a lottery pick. Seeing draft picks like Desmond Bane and Chris Duarte should give teams more confidence in drafting players who are around 22 years old. Every now and then you will find an upperclassman that's not only productive, but also still has a lot of upside. Agbaji's ball handling has improved, and he's got more comfortable attacking off the dribble, which is a good combination with his strong frame and steady body control when he gets to the basket. He's always been an impressive athlete, but now he's hitting 42% of his threes at a high volume of attempts. He fits the mold of an off guard who spaces the floor and attacks closeouts in the NBA. Simply put, what he did this season is too good to ignore. Bogdan Bogdanović is getting a little older, and he has missed a lot of games due to injuries in the last couple of years. Agbaji could step right in and back up Kevin Huerter when given a chance. His newfound offensive confidence has played a major factor in his improvement. Agbaji is an experienced college player who could get overlooked because of his age, even though he's definitely worthy of being a lottery pick. With the 17th pick, the Houston Rockets select Ousmane Dieng from the New Zealand Breakers. This young stud stands at around 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, fluidity, and plays with an excellent feel for the game. He is very good off the bounce, a terrific passer, and can handle in the open floor. Pick and roll playmaking at his size is rare, as is the fluidity of his handle. Dieng has developed a reliable floater in the lane, which has made him very deadly as a pick and roll ball handler. His shot mechanics look solid, but outside shooting is definitely not one of his strengths. Jang shot 27% from three-point range in the last 2 years, which is something to be worried about. His size and wingspan come in handy on defense. Jang has shown impressive defensive ability on the perimeter. He still needs to add muscle to his slim frame, but he has great instincts and awareness. He had a nightmare start to the season with the New Zealand Breakers, but he had an incredible turnaround during the second half of the season, reigniting interest in him as a lottery pick. He operated with the ball in his hands more, made more shots, and was confident off the bounce and started defending at a really high rate. Jang started to show his shooting potential late in the season, hitting 13 of his last 32 three-pointers. The team that drafted Ousmane Dieng would need to be patient with his development. Physically, he isn't ready for the NBA, and his shot needs to be so much more consistent. But he has so much upside that he's worthy of a top 20 selection. The Rockets are a team with 2 picks in the first round that can't afford to take this gamble. Much like with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Chicago Bulls started out as one of the league's biggest surprises, showcasing lockdown defense in late stages of games to go along with a potent offense. The Bulls sat in first place in the East for a short while, remaining there past the All-Star break and as late as February 25th. Chicago's season took a dramatic turn as they battled key injuries to Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball. They went from a top 10 defense to one of the worst 10 defenses in the league. The Bulls' lack of depth was a question mark heading into the season, and it also turned out to be the Bulls' Achilles heel. They did make their first playoff appearance since 2017, but they seemed like a team that was destined for a first-round exit regardless of the opponent. The biggest decision the team front office has to make this offseason is retaining their all-star guard Zach LaVine, who will become an unrestricted free agent this offseason. The 27-year-old is eligible for a 5-year, $200 million max contract, which could be too steep of a price for the Bulls. Drafting a player with some defensive potential would be a good idea for the Bulls with this pick. With the 18th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls select Tari Eason from Louisiana State University. The 6'8" combo guard can do a little bit of everything on the court and impacts both ends of the floor. Eason is an explosive leaper who plays an aggressive style of play, solid ball handling for his size, and is incredibly agile. He can rebound the ball well and can push in transition for easy buckets. Eason is a great finisher at the rim, can cut into open space, and positions himself well around the basket, especially around the dunker spot. He's also flashed a little passing talent from time to time in his sophomore year, reading defenses and being able to pass to the open man after the help comes. He's more of a forward than a 3. Eason doesn't necessarily have the quickness or tight handles to play small forward for a long stretch, and as a power forward, he will be undersized. So he will have to rely on his athleticism, quickness, and his 7'2" wingspan to make up for it. He was excellent on defense this past season. Eason guarded multiple positions at the college level, can switch on to anybody, and covers a lot of ground with his elite closing speed. Eason is definitely a prospect that can be molded into a key contributor on both sides of the ball, but he still has a lot of work to do with his game. The Minnesota Timberwolves got their first taste of playoff basketball since 2018, which provided valuable experience that could pay dividends down the road. Even though they gave the Memphis Grizzlies a run for their money, the Timberwolves played like an undisciplined and inexperienced team, blowing multiple double-digit leads, which was too much to overcome. They have a nice core with Karl Anthony Towns at 26, and obviously the 20-year-old Anthony Edwards, who has the biggest upside. In his first full season on the bench, head coach Chris Finch proved that he was worthy of the job. Finch found ways to plug holes in the roster and put players in the best position to succeed. With the Timberwolves core being so young, in particular Anthony Edwards, I believe this team can take a gamble with a prospect that may not be ready to contribute right away. With the 19th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Nikola Jovic from Serbia. Jovic is a very skilled and versatile combo forward with excellent size. He's a legit 6'11" with guard-like skills. He moves well for his size and is very smooth. It seems like everything comes easy to him. He's a solid athlete with somewhat of a polished offensive game. He has excellent ball skills. Although he can be somewhat of a ball stopper at times, he makes excellent reads with the ball, sees the court well, and can serve as an excellent facilitator. He might not have an explosive first step, but he still can get to the rim thanks to his craftiness, excellent use of fakes, and changes in speed and direction. The one area he will need to improve on is his perimeter shooting, which can be very erratic. He may be a better shooter than his current three-point percentage would suggest, but Jovic is far from the type of knockdown shooter he will need to be in order to take his game to the next level. As good as he can be on offense, Jovic is still a work in progress on the defensive end, and this will be a key factor in determining his potential success on the NBA level. At the moment, he struggles to defend both forward positions, even at the European level. He will need to bulk up more to play effectively at the 4, which will likely become his long-term position in the NBA. The appeal of Jovic is what he could become, not what he is at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed overseas after he's drafted before he comes to the NBA. But the talent and size is obviously there, but you may have to wait for it. With the 20th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Patrick Baldwin from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. The appeal of Baldwin is his size and his potential as a shooter. A 6'10 forward with a smooth release and deep range. Over the years, there's enough evidence suggesting that Baldwin is a far better shooter than he showed in college. He had one of the most disappointing freshman seasons among draft prospects who were projected as a first rounder. Baldwin just hit 34% from the field and 27% from 3, and more importantly, did not elevate his team like a top 5 recruit was expected to. But NBA teams are still intrigued by him as a prospect. Baldwin built his reputation as an elite shooter in high school, and he can be a major catch-and-shoot threat and does most of his damage on spot-ups and one-dribble pull-ups. His size allows him to compete defensively, and he's shown enough off-ball awareness to be able to make an impact on that end. Baldwin also dealt with multiple injuries during the season, and he only appeared in 12 of 29 games for the Milwaukee Panthers. The long-term health of his ankle might be a concern as well, after it also cost him his senior year in high school. Baldwin has considerable pedigree, brings size and above-average ball skills, and projects as a good three-point shooter with a good feel for the game. Sometimes you just got to be drafted by the right team to maximize your potential. And Baldwin seems like he would thrive with the Spurs organization. It's hard not to call this past NBA season a success for the Denver Nuggets, with 2 of their 3 best players out for the majority of the season. The team was able to fight and claw their way to 48 wins, which also included 25 road victories, which was the 4th best away record in the league and the most road wins in franchise history. That goes to show you how dominant Nikola Jokic was, to be able to carry the load without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Jokic won back-to-back league MVP and became the first player in league history to surpass 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in one season. With Porter and Murray set to come back for the start of next season, there's a lot of optimism with this team about being a legit contender for the title. There is a prospect that could be available that has a team-first attitude, can do a little bit of everything on the court, and more importantly, can make an immediate impact. With the 21st pick in the draft, the Denver Nuggets select Christian Braun from Kansas University. Braun brings championship pedigree to the table and size and skill to be a very impactful role player on the next level. Braun wasn't a top 100 recruit out of high school in 2019, but he played his way into being a key part to Kansas's national title team this year. Braun brings 2 things that all teams are looking for: good shooting and defense. Wing players who shoot efficiently from 3 and play hard on both ends tend to find their way on the court. He shoots the ball confidently and isn't afraid to take threes above the break, on the move, off the dribble, or a few feet behind the college three-point line. He shot nearly 39% from 3 this past season. More importantly, Braun is the ultimate team player. He showcased that he understands his role on the court. For Kansas, he often hustled for rebounds, ran the floor, and had a great feel for the game. Braun was very disruptive on defense, averaging nearly a block and a steal per game. He makes sound reads and often does a good job finding himself in the right place at the right time. He knows his rotations and will likely hold his own on the next level. The NBA Combine was the moment where he really solidified his draft stock. Brown impressed with a max vertical leap of 40 inches and measured in at 6'7". And those two things could allow him to be an effective talent on the wing in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies took one of the biggest leaps of any team this year as they was able to secure the second seed in the Western Conference. They had one of the deepest benches in the league, and it seemed like any player that touched the floor for the Grizzlies always made an impact. It's amazing how much improvement this team had, with most of the players being under the age of 25. They played like one of the best teams with Ja Morant, and also without Ja Morant. The Grizzlies are the second youngest team in the NBA with an average age of 24 years old. Only OKC are younger, and they weren't even close to being as good as Memphis was this year. Third-year head coach Taylor Jenkins has molded this squad into a top-tier defense and one of the most aggressive offensive teams in the league in each of the last 2 years. The sky's the limit for this team, and they could be in the NBA Finals sooner rather than later. Finding another offensive creator, especially off the bench, would be a good addition for the Grizzlies. With the 22nd pick in the draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Blake Wesley from Notre Dame University. Notre Dame's rapid improvement on the offensive end came shortly after Wesley went to the starting lineup. He is an extremely talented shot creator, a dynamic guard who can legitimately make things happen out of isolations and ball screens. He has a knack for getting past the first level of defenders and collapsing the defense. But down the stretch of the season is when he started to struggle. Other teams were able to devise schemes to slow him down. And over the final 17 games of the season, Wesley shot 36% from the field and 26% from three. And in the NCAA tournament, Wesley shot 15 for 45 over his 3 games and looked a bit overwhelmed at times. But the talent is still there. And he just turned 19 years old a couple of months ago. He has the necessary skill set to be a secondary shot creator, whether as a starter or coming off the bench. He looked far more competitive defensively as the season went on, using his quickness, length, and solid instincts, and also made plays in the passing lanes. Becoming more efficient and taking better shots is something he needs to work on going forward. The Brooklyn Nets were definitely one of the most talked about teams throughout the season, but for the wrong reasons. If this team proved anything, is that the regular season matters, which I believe is good for the game of basketball. Just having talent on paper isn't good enough. You actually need to play together and develop chemistry with your teammates to be able to compete for an NBA championship. Just showing up half the time isn't good enough to win in this league. There are a lot of question marks with this team, but I believe the number one question is every player committed to the team? Personal agendas would do nothing but lead to disappointment. The defense on this squad has to improve, because going in with a mindset just to outscore teams is a bad strategy. Finding defensive-minded prospects would be the best option for the Nets at this spot. With the 23rd pick in the draft, the Brooklyn Nets select E.J. Liddell from Ohio State University. Liddell is a well-built and fundamentally sound forward. He will be a positive addition to whatever team adds him in the draft. He stayed at Ohio State for 3 years and showed gradual improvements each season. He plays with good physicality and has a powerful frame, as he shot 37% from the three-point line while attempting more three-pointers per game. Liddell is most comfortable offensively when operating from the post and mid-range area. He has an impressive touch around the rim and a good face-up game in the mid-post area. He has shown he can knock down the three ball, which projects him as a modern-day power forward. On defense, Liddell is extremely impressive as a rim protector, as he averaged 2.5 blocks per game this past season. His ability to defend the paint and the perimeter at a high level makes him appealing as an early impact player. That's something the Brooklyn Nets could use in a heartbeat. The 21-year-old has a potential fit as a small ball center or floor spacing power forward. He certainly has room to grow. He will be able to contribute to the Nets right away. The Milwaukee Bucks look primed to make a return trip to the NBA Finals But the injury to Chris Middleton was just too much to overcome against a good Boston Celtics team. The Bucks benefited with injuries on other teams last year, but this year, they were the unlucky team. Taking the Celtics to 7 games without your second best player is actually really impressive. The Bucks are at a mindset of championship or bust, but at the same time, you have to be more encouraged than discouraged going forward with the Bucks. Finding consistent offense outside the big three should be a priority for the Bucks this offseason. Grayson Allen had a great series against the Chicago Bulls, but had the opposite impact against the Celtics. I believe finding a prospect with offensive potential could be the move for the Bucks with this pick. With the 24th pick in the draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Jalen Williams from Santa Clara University. Williams can do a little bit of everything and has an absolutely insane physical profile, one ideal for success in the modern NBA. This guy stands around 6'6" with a ridiculous 7'2" wingspan. He's not an elite athlete, but moves smoothly around the court and can finish above the rim with ease. He has the ability to get ISO buckets when needed, and he typically makes the right play. He was one of the nation's leaders in dunks and field goals made at the rim among players his size or shorter. Williams is a prototypical slasher who was one of the leaders in unassisted field goals at the rim. He plays well with the ball in his hands, but he was an efficient catch and shoot guy when he played off the ball. He also improved as a shooter and brought his three-point average up to 40% this year. There are small improvements he will have to make across the board when making it to the NBA, but he is likely a candidate for a guy who will outperform his draft slot. His versatility as a scorer and playmaker will be a great addition to a Bucks team who really needs a legit creator outside the big three. Having him come off the bench will be a huge luxury. With the 25th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Walker Kessler from Auburn University. After transferring from North Carolina, Kessler showed up for Auburn in his sophomore season and became arguably the best shot blocker in the country. Kessler finished the season number 1 nationally in defensive plus minus and number 3 in overall defensive efficiency rating. Kessler blocked 7 or more shots in 9 games, including 12 and 11 blocks against Texas A&M and LSU respectively, that led to triple-doubles for the big man in both games. The first National Defensive Player of the Year and Conference Defensive Player of the Year in Auburn history. Kessler had one of the most efficient seasons for a rim protector in the last 20 years in college basketball. On offense, he's still not a reliable floor spacer, but he's incredibly efficient around the rim with a soft touch on the block. Working on his jump shot is something he's working towards adding to his arsenal. Mechanically, his shot needs work, but a good sign is that Kessler is willing to learn and wasn't afraid to take them in his time at Auburn. Kessler's length, mobility, and rim protection gives him a unique skill set and makes him a valuable option for the San Antonio Spurs. This season for the Dallas Mavericks has definitely been a huge success for the franchise. They had an incredible run to the Western Conference Finals, their best season since 2011 when they won their first championship. They started the season with an 18-18 record, dealing with injuries to Luka Doncic and other guys in and out because of COVID protocols. But role players stepped up more than ever. Jalen Brunson turned into a star, and the trade for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans was the spark no one knew they needed. The Mavericks finished the season winning 36 of their last 48 games, a winning percentage around 75%. Jason Kidd's head coaching career started off on a shaky start, but this season has proven he has grown as a coach. He had an unbelievable year and looked like one of the best coaches in the league right now. It would never hurt to add players who can take a little more pressure off of Luka. Who knows what will happen with Jalen Brunson in free agency? Regardless, finding talent that can create off the dribble would be my expectations for the Mavericks in this draft. With the 26th pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Bryce McCowens from the University of Nebraska. McCowens is a skilled, lengthy, and athletic 6'6" combo guard with a lot of bounce and a smooth jump shot. A true 3-level scorer who can get to the basket and has the body control and footwork to avoid the contact and finish at the rim. McCowens also has a quick first step and long strides that help him get to the basket. Sometimes NBA teams will dismiss certain stats for whatever reason because they believe in the prospect and believe they can mold him into a contributing player. McCollins did not shoot the ball well in his freshman year. He only shot 40% from the field and 27% from three. But the one thing to feel encouraged about his potential as a shooter is that he shot 83% from the free throw line. That's usually a good indication about a prospect's long-term projection as a shooter. The freshman guard showed a clean stroke and enough shooting versatility to think he can improve. He's clearly got the skills and upside to be an NBA wing, but needs more development physically. He also needs to get better on the defensive end. Adding more muscle to his frame is a must for his NBA future. If given the time and trust by a franchise, the end result seems to be an NBA starter. At the very least, a good option coming off the bench. His upside alone makes him a target late in the first round, and the Mavericks might jump on that upside. The Miami Heat are currently battling the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals and still have a legit chance to make a return trip to the NBA Finals. The addition of Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker paid dividends for the most part with their toughness and leadership. Tyler Hero had his best year of his career as he won the Sixth Man of the Year trophy. And nobody gets the best out of their second-round picks and undrafted players more than the Miami Heat. Butler and Adebayo had good years, but it seems like they're missing one more piece to be able to bring championship number 4 to the franchise. I never believed that Adebayo was talented enough to be the second offensive option on a championship team, and I still feel that way today. He's best as a third option. Who knows how the Heat will make improvements this summer, but I'm sure they're going to use this first-round pick on a prospect they believe fits their culture. With the 27th pick in the draft, the Miami Heat select Kendall Brown from Baylor University. Brown is a spectacular athlete with immense defensive versatility. A 6'8", 205-pound forward with a 6'11" wingspan. Brown is a jaw-dropping leaper with great speed whose calling card will be on the defensive end. He's excellent guarding on the perimeter for a player his size, showing the ability to stick with guards and quickly turning defense into offense by getting in the passing lanes. He's also big enough to hold up defensively in the paint on switches. On offense, Brown impacts the game with his passing, transition scoring, offensive rebounding, and cutting. Brown has an excellent feel on offense that allows him to get open in driving lanes where he shows off his athleticism. The one hole in Brown's game is as a shooter. He shot 34% of his threes this year on limited attempts, and he was often reluctant to fire from the outside. He's more than capable of developing into a decent three-point shooter, which is something he'll need to happen in order to maximize his offensive potential. Brown was super efficient scorer as a freshman, mostly thanks to his finishing around the basket, but he'll need to prove he can space the floor to provide peak value in the NBA. But his size, athleticism, and defense will get him on the court early in his career. There were a lot of doubters that believed that the Golden State Warriors wouldn't be able to compete for NBA championships again once their best players were healthy. They were able to develop young guys like Jordan Poole in the last couple of years when they were struggling to stay healthy, and made an unbelievable trade for Andrew Wiggins. And now you combine those guys with the original crew in Steph, Draymond, and Klay. But the crazy thing about this season was that the Big Three only played 11 minutes together in the regular season. As soon as Klay came back, Draymond went out. And when Draymond finally came back, Steph went out for the final month of the season. And with all the highs and lows, they were able to finish with the number 3 seed and started to hit their stride right before the playoffs. The Warriors could very well be on their way to championship number 4 in this era. They're playing with house money with their first round pick, and they will more than likely be solid options at this spot. And they have had a history of drafting key impact players late in the first round, i.e. Kevon Looney and Jordan Poole. With the 28th pick in the draft, the Golden State Warriors select Kennedy Chandler from the University of Tennessee. Chandler is a lightning quick guard who can get in the paint and finish around the rim despite his lack of size. He's only 6 feet tall, but he has a wingspan at around 6'5" and a max vertical of 41.5 inches. which will certainly alleviate some of those concerns. He had the highest max vertical at the NBA Combine this year. He's a crafty finisher with a solid runner and showed improvements in his jump shot throughout the year. He's good in the pick and roll, and he finished in the 73rd percentile on those types of plays. He also made 38% of his threes this year, but surprisingly he only shot 60% from the foul line. He'll have to be a reliable shooter from deep and develop his floater to be an effective scorer on the next level. But his ability to run the team makes him a safe bet to have a long career as a backup point guard, if nothing else. On defense, he's feisty at the point of attack. He has the length, quick hands, and toughness you need to be a solid defender. And he will often take the ball away from opposing guards, as he finished with an impressive 4.1% steal rate. With the 29th pick in the draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Jake LaRivia from Wake Forest University. At 6'9", LaRivia sees the court very well and is an excellent passer for a bigger player. He has good instincts at the rim and will physically battle. He reads the game so well. He's reliable and always seems to make the right play. He keeps the ball moving around in a way a star player like Ja Morant would love playing with. This will be crucial as a role player at the next level, since he will have to find ways to get involved on offense as a non-ball handler. Cutting and moving off ball is another excellent skill he has, and could help him have a significant role early in his career. He was a career 37% three-point shooter in his 3-year college career, and with more reps, LaRivia should be reliable from beyond the arc on the next level. He lacks an elite first step off the dribble, and he can be a little too unselfish at times. But he does so many other things well. He just has a lot of skills tailor-made for winning games. His team-first mentality will fit in well with the Memphis Grizzlies. With the 30th pick in the 2022 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Marjon Beauchamp from the G League Ignite. I really could see OKC using this pick and their 12th pick to move up in the draft, but there still will be some talented prospects for OKC to choose from with the last pick in the first round. Beauchamp is a powerful wing who showed how valuable his combination of athleticism, size, and motor can be during his stint with the G League Ignite. At 6'6", 200 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan, Beauchamp showed impressive defensive versatility and opportunistic scoring instincts all season. Defense should be his calling card early in his career. Beauchamp has quick feet and active hands with the length to guard 3 or 4 positions. On offense, Beauchamp thrived at attacking the rim all season, with transition buckets, cuts, and straight line drives serving as the foundation of his scoring. While he only shot 24% on threes, he did make 68% of his 2-point shots. Even without a reliable jump shot, Beauchamp has enough two-way skill set to provide nice value at this point of the first round.